Hello, how are we doing today, Miami? Feeling good? I'm feeling amazing. Good to be home for 24 hours. This is my really good friend, Gary Lipovetsky. Thank you for joining me. Thanks for having me, buddy. We talk daily, like for hours, so it's just to hear us talking for more hours with you guys, if that's okay by you. So I'm Chris Adamo, founder of Letterhead and Family Capital and Ad Art, the handle on social media. And I also work at Cooley, the law firm, launched them in Miami. And I spent years of my career helping match brands with creators early on in the days of social media. And Gary has made a huge business out of that himself. So he's new from Miami, 2 years in. Almost four. 4 years in, and he's an amazing entrepreneur. And he scaled his wife Valeria's business to 8 million followers, millions of dollars a year in revenue, and now he runs Creator Method. So why don't you give him a little synopsis of your life and how this all started?
Well, so this all started back in 2017, where my wife, who after we had our two boys, we didn't have our third kid yet, but she started creating content from home. Out of the blue, we received a wire for about $10,000 into our bank account that I didn't know where it came from. And when I asked my wife about it, she just casually said, "Well, this probiotic company paid me to integrate their product into my content." And I said, "Tell me about your content." And so she showed it to me. And I have a background since 1999. I've been in online marketing, various formats. And when she showed it to me, that was the prove out that people are willing to pay for this media, that the media is very real. Based on that, I asked her, like, tell me where you spend your time. And she said, "Well, I spend about an hour a day in front of the camera, and I spend about 10 hours a day editing." And so I said, "Okay, let's hire a videographer." And we hired the videographer, and the purpose of hiring the videographer was to increase both the quantity of content that she would make and the quality of content that she would make. And fast forward, we now have 20 full-time people. We have a CEO running the media company. It's been 8 years. We do millions of dollars a year in brand partnerships. Valeria now has a podcast, again, multiple formats. And almost a year ago, we launched Creator Method, which is a private community and an education platform for creators to do the same.
Amazing. So this talk is about really how founders need to lean to become creators to have their businesses scale. And this is a thing that wasn't really a big thing a couple of years ago. It was kind of like frowned upon as like, don't distract yourself with making content, just go do the work. But now it's become clear that having an audience is essential for getting started and even to scale at this point. Is it too late now? Have you missed the boat if you're going to be doing creating, or is this you're just getting started?
No, it's never too late. Anybody who wants to be a creator, whether they're a founder who understands that they at this point have to become a creator, or whether they're simply a hobbyist who wants to do this, or an individual who wants to do this as a career, it's definitely not too late. We see people coming up all the time. I'm sure you see new people popping off and gaining massive scale all the time, but you see the people gaining massive scale, and those are kind of rare. But what you're not maybe paying attention to the people who are growing slowly, the people who are growing consistently and slowly, who are building careers for themselves over long periods of time. Valeria never like blew up overnight. Like her millions of followers, we gained through, consistency and through process over years and years. So look, there's definitely room for this. It's unlimited. It really is. And it's just getting started.
You run the Creator Method, training people how to do this for a living. A lot of founders don't have this muscle of like talking to a camera and just being themselves and being raw like that. How should someone start? Like most people here work in like tech companies. So how would a person in a tech company start this muscle and have it relate to their brand? And how do they do it?
Anybody who's starting, they need to kind of look at a couple of things. They need to look at what it is that they're interested in. They need to look at what they're good at. And then they need to understand what there's market demand for. And then when you cross-reference those three things, you come up with what your content pillars are going to be. And then it's just simply a matter of researching, finding other creators who are doing it at scale, who are doing it successfully, getting inspiration from their work and diving into it and really being organized and committing a certain amount of time that will produce a certain amount of content and putting it out consistently over long periods of time, and getting out of your own head when the data either flattens or goes down, because it's through that long, consistent process that's when you get scale. If we would have given up every time the data went south, we wouldn't be where we are right now.
This morning, you shared a post about your motorcycle.
I often talk about my motorcycle. You always give me shit for it too. Stop talking about your motorcycle.
Your post was saying that motorcycle isn't necessarily like, everyone's thing, but it's your thing. And how do you make your thing the thing that you talk about? How easy or hard is that to do?
Well, a lot of the times your thing isn't something that there's really a lot of demand for. So there's not a lot of demand for motorcycle content. I just do it because I love it, right? Like I love riding my bike, so I create content because I'm just documenting my life. So if you want to talk about the things that you're passionate about, but that don't necessarily have a demand, like there's not a market demand for that, then it's really a matter of finding, the parts of kind of your interests where there are market demand, creating content, and then sprinkling in the other stuff. Like if you looked at my Instagram, I'm definitely not a motorcycle creator. My main thing is talking about personal brand building, content creation, and I sprinkle that stuff in as it happens because I genuinely enjoy it.
Now, let's talk examples. Like, who are some of the people that are doing this amazingly well? Like entrepreneurs that are just slaying this.
The first one that comes to mind is Cody Sanchez. So Cody's a friend of ours. I mean, she's doing great. She was an entrepreneur before she was a creator, and she got into this and she really understood the value of doing this. If we're talking about entrepreneurs doing it, Alex Ramosi is another great example. Obviously, Gary Vaynerchuk. These are entrepreneurs first who understood the value of developing their personal brand. And the thing is, those are people who are doing it at scale, but it took a while to get there. And I don't believe that every entrepreneur's goal should necessarily be to get to that scale. Every entrepreneur needs to do this because when you're representing your company, even if you don't have a lot of followers, it's not about having a lot of followers. It's about having a personal brand that when people are doing their homework about you, so whether it's investors, customers, people who you can do strategic partnerships, when they're looking you up and they're going to your Instagram, if they see nothing or if they see something that doesn't at least illustrate, what your aptitudes are and also kind of who you are as a person, hence my motorcycle content, it's authentic to me. It's just part of who I am. So entrepreneurs need to be doing this, even if they're not going to try to like swing for the fences and get the kind of scale that the people I mentioned have.
There's always like a barrier when it's like my fiance or my wife or my spouse, my partner, my friends, they judge me or they're not into it. How do you get past that? How do you get a partner to help you with this?
Well, I mean, first of all, you got to stop caring what people think, right? That's the first thing you got to do because my wife and I have an age difference, and I'm older than her, and so initially when we started putting out content, there was a lot of scrutiny. People would say nasty things about me, nasty things about her, and in the end, it's like if we would have listened to all of that, we wouldn't have this amazing business and this, quite frankly, this amazing life because there's more than the financial upside to content creation. We get to meet such incredible people. We have such incredible experiences. You got to have that mental fortitude and push past what people think of you.
And what's some of the mistakes you've seen happen that people fall into and how do we fix it?
So you're talking about content creators specifically. So, I mean, the number one mistake content creators make, I mentioned it before, they can't get out of their own head when it comes to the data. They take it very personally and they get really stifled. They stop creating when, things aren't taking off. That's the first thing. It's also this kind of dealing with the naysayers, with the haters, if you will. And it's just a lack of consistency. Content creators think that if they put out a piece of content and it doesn't get, whatever, hundreds of thousands or millions of views, then they failed. They don't understand that this is a long-term game. They don't understand how much time and commitment this takes. And it's really funny. Like I was talking to actually one of our Creator Method members who's she's an executive at Google. She's out in California. She's an executive at Google. And she was like complaining how it's not happening for her. And I looked at her, profile and she's maybe has 100 or 200 posts. She's been doing it for, I don't know, 8 months, 9 months. And I simply asked her the question, like, what did you have to do to get this job at Google? And she said, well, I had to go to, university and I had to graduate at the top of my class. And I did this interview. And I said, and when you're at Google, if you don't perform, are you going to keep your job? She said, no. So I said, all of the things that you need to do in order to get a job like that, in order to keep a job like that. For some reason, you think that if you make like 50 to 100 posts on Instagram, it should take off right away. So where's the disconnect between effort and results? Why do you not see the connection between effort and results in this sphere, but you see it in other parts of your life?
Why is that? Why do folks just give up after that?
People give up because what they're doing is they're seeing a cross section of creators who are in the millions. They're seeing people like my wife, like other creators who like are more visible, and they think that it's overnight success because let's say somebody who's just started following Valeria, my wife, and they see these millions of followers, they don't know the backstory. They don't know the almost 9 years of suffering and work and, 14-hour days and not seeing the kids and tears and they're not seeing all of that. So world visually of instant gratification and instant success. They know they have to go to school for many years to achieve a degree, to get a certain job, but they just don't see it on social media because it feels like it's instant.
Yeah. Well, how about the community aspect of it? Like, how do you build like what you do for the creative method is all about community focused work.
Well, yeah. So this medium in general, when you talk about building a community, so there's been a shift from like the terms like followers and audience to really terms like community. It really is crucial that this is a two-way line of communication, right? And so, for example, creators, one of the things that we talk about inside of our program is that you have to respond to every DM, you have to reply to every comment, you have to keep these relationships going. And I kind of like I almost like make a comparison or kind of like a little joke that if somebody came up to you here at this conference and said hello to you, my name is so and you just did this. That's the equivalent on social media of not responding to people. You're not going to build a community. So just going back to what really the asset has to become, that is the community. Because unless people are engaged with you, if it's one way, if they're only watching you, then they're not getting a sufficient amount of value. So it does have to be a two-way kind of line of communication.
So let's say me, I want to start being a creator.
Yeah.
What should I be doing?
Look, I mean, I know you, you're my friend. So I've never seen anyone as good at networking, like genuinely networking and caring about people as you. And you and I were just talking about it now. I gave you the suggestion now, right? I said like when I walk any type of event with Chris, let's say it would take me, I don't know, 30 seconds to walk from that side of the room to that side of the room. With Chris, it takes about an hour. And the reason it takes an hour is because every other step, somebody's stopping Chris and saying hello to him, and not just like a passive, oh, hey, how's it going? It's we stop and it's a whole conversation. So the fact that you do this and you have these relationships, so I told you my idea was, I said, Chris, you need a camera on you, you need to be Mike, and you need to walk across the room, and that's like 27 Instagram reels right there. And so every time you attend an event, you're looking at between probably 30 to 100 Instagram reels that you would create. Probably go to like 100 events a year. You're just going to have an ongoing flow. Like these interactions that you have with people is like nothing I've ever seen. Like you'll meet somebody or you'll see somebody that and you right away talk, all of their kids, what their names are, what their hobbies are, everything about them. That's powerful. And that's something I don't see every day. So when I think of you specifically, that's what I would do if I were you.
Okay, guys, I'm doing this for full time now. I'm quitting my job. I'm going.
I hope so. I hope so.
Well, that's the key. Don't quit your job. Just do the content around what you do in every day of your life and make it part of your life. And your job is that, right? If you're being honest and raw and yourself, it's going to work on the internet.
So what's happening with the attention economy is things are moving from sensationalism. And, you see, the dances that you used to see all the time on TikTok and Instagram and all this like content that was just like it's attention at all costs. People would do wild things. I don't know about you. I'm seeing less of it. So in my feed, I'm seeing less of it. And now I'm seeing a shift into actual more, I don't know how you want to call it, but it's just more quality content, more actual exchanges. So as opposed to like always creating this sensational content, what's happening now is the shift is moving towards, documenting your everyday. That's why I was suggesting to Chris when he walks through, those are just normal moments. And so even this, like I'm talking on this stage, Chris and I are talking on this stage, there's going to be probably about 10 or 20 Instagram reels from this. And it's just those honest exchanges. I'll give you another example. So we create a lot of different, I don't know if you follow our content, if you know Mike Kennemeier's content, you do. Great. Thank you for the support. So like, for example, like, a friend of mine parked his motorcycle in front of our house. I already have two. And what did I do when my wife came out in her face mask? You saw it. I filmed her. So that type of content, it's not sensationalism. It's real life. So really, at the start of social media, it was all about, okay, let's go crazy. Let's do all this stuff. That's how TikTok started and Instagram too. So now it's a matter of documenting. The skill set that people need to pick up and that they are picking up is documenting the everyday. Creator method, I call it situational content awareness, SCA. It's situational content awareness. So as people develop that, that's what you're now seeing on your feeds, is you're seeing more authentic and real moments. It's less scripted and it's less sensational. Yes and no. Because if it's too process driven, it's not gonna hit. Once you do that cross reference between those three elements, between what you're good at, what there's market demand for, and what you like, right? When you do, I often forget them. When you do the cross reference of those three things and you try to figure out how to do it, you need to go and figure out what your formats are going to be. So first, you need to do an analysis of your time. So if you're doing it full time, you got to set that bar high and say, okay, I want to do 1 to 2 to 3 pieces of content daily, right? And 7 days a week. So you got to plan for that: pre-production, production, post-production. So you have to do that. And then in terms of the formatting themselves, I mean, like, yeah, you got to organize yourself. So you got to use Google Calendar, and you have to do all of that. But it really is, the fundamentals of it is, once you understand what it is you're going to be talking about, then figuring out what your formats are, because you can present a certain subject matter in multiple formats. So you got to do that research. There's a ton of comparables that you can look at. And then it's saying to yourself, okay, I have this many hours per day to do it. You would first speculate how long, like how much time it's going to take you to put out consistently a certain amount of content. And then you iterate, because you might be wrong. Maybe you can do more content than what you thought you could do in the period of time that you've allocated. Maybe you'll do less, but it's starting that process. Like, at the end of the day, what I'm finding in the beginning stages, because I would say about half of the creators on our platform, of our members, they're at the very early stages. So most creators fail because they can't even start, because they get so wrapped up and they're doing all of this pre-production and they can't just start. The best way you can do this is by doing it. The school of execution, you got to execute against it. Well, and when it comes to monetization, there's a handful of things that you can do. One is brand partnerships, right? Whether it's cash or equity or a combination of both. And those are things that you're negotiating on an ongoing basis, whether it's through a management company who can manage those deals for you. Most of them are inbound. So if you create the content that brands feel they can integrate their product or service into, they're going to reach out to you. I think it's a mistake when people go outbound too early. If you create the content, that's really your strategy to get them in. I mean, that's one. Look, the other one is subscriptions. Subscriptions are huge. There's courses, right? So I believe courses have now evolved into communities. So just like with Creator Method, like, we could have initially just said, we're just doing a course on how to do what we've learned how to do over the last 8 years. Rather than that, we're building a community where people are connecting with each other. So it really comes down to brand partnerships. It comes down to community. It comes down like courses. The other way to monetize is through your own business. So if you are let's say you're a founder and you're not a content creator yet. So as you create content and as you build scale, your business then benefits. A lot of the monetization is indirect. So if you have a business of any kind, building your personal brand will indirectly get that business more attention. You'll become more of an authority. You'll build more trust, and then your business will succeed. The other way to do it is products. So you'll see, you mentioned Rihanna with her product line. Products are another way to do it. For us, we tried doing product. We did it for about 2-3 years, and we shut it down. And even though we were doing millions of dollars a year in revenue, I don't think it was profitable. It's even hard to tell with products. It's so complex. What we realized is we didn't have that expertise. So when it comes to monetizing with product, or any way of monetizing outside of brand partnerships, you have to ask yourself if you have the expertise to monetize in that way. So we don't know how to develop. We're not good at developing products. We did fashion and sunglasses and all kinds of stuff. We weren't great at it. So we eventually stopped. Had we have had a partner, let's say an equal equity partner or any kind of equity partner doing that, then I believe that would have been more successful. And I've seen that happen with some of our creator friends, where they partner with companies to create product, but people who understand production, logistics, reverse logistics, manufacturing. But those are essentially the ways. At the stage that we're at, Valeria and I, we stay away from it because our heads are like solely on content. I tried not to even do much before I got on the stage because I want to stay, focused. And Valeria does the same thing. Our team, so we have a CEO who runs it, but what I can tell you at various stages, a lot of it is like simple stuff. Like, it's like, let's say, for example, with contact management for your brand partnerships, it's a simple CRM depending on the volume. So if you have a high volume of people that you're talking to, I think you should have a CRM anyways. CRM is a customer relationship management software. Part of this is networking. And so whether you're talking to potential clients, brand partners, other creators, collaboration is huge. So you need software to manage that. I highly recommend that. Communication tools, we use Slack both internally and externally. It's an essential tool. Google Drive for all the storage, Google Calendar for all the calendaring, and we use that across the board. So these are tools that are readily available, either free or almost free. One of the ones that I'm really bullish on lately, because we don't allocate a lot of resources to my content. I'm just doing it more as a hobbyist. Maybe that'll change. I don't know, but all of our efforts we put into Valeria. But there's a platform called Opus.pro. Have you heard of Opus.pro? Yeah, you've heard of it. So have you heard of it? No. So Opus Pro, what it does is, let's say, for example, this video, we're going to take the long form of this video. We have our videographer here, and we're going to post it as a YouTube video. Then we're going to take that link from the YouTube video, put it into Opus Pro, and Opus Pro is going to spit out about 30 short forms that we can edit within the website on Opus Pro. And out of those 30, probably maybe 10 or 12 of them will be good. That's a $20 a month platform. So those are the type of the tools that we use, but they're all readily available. And then the most important one, if you're not using this, you guys are crazy. And whether you're content creators, you know what it is. It's ChatGPT. You got to use ChatGPT. And
my questions came.
and that's where his questions came from. And your question about what platforms to use for creators, you go ask ChatGPT. ChatGPT will tell you maybe the same thing or maybe even better stuff. We simply parted ways. It's not that complex. A lot of the times it happens where we kind of outgrew their budgets as Valeria's personal brand scaled. People who were there earlier on, some of them who had the budget stayed, and some of them didn't. So a lot of it is a kind of, budget. We didn't align anymore. We wouldn't have really started with somebody who we weren't aligned with. So unless like something, I don't know, there was like a big, some kind of a scandal or like a shift politically, that just hasn't happened to us. Like we haven't had a brand come to us and say, we no longer align. Because we're pretty simple. I don't know. We try not to be bad people. So there really hasn't been that. It's really more been budget than anything else. But in general, if you do have to part ways with the brand, whether it's for budget reasons or, misalignment, you just got to be cool about it. It's like any other business. You just got to be super polite, let them know that we've evolved separately, and that's it. So it's not that complex. Just be nice about it.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.